have everybody's, first item is, we'll do the minutes. Then I wanna change the order and do the school, because most of the people here are from the
Recording
school
in
and they
progress.
have a ways to go to get home. So we'll let them go first. So, we have the minutes from our last meeting, which was on January 8th. Do I hear a motion on them?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Any opposed?
Wait.
Any abstain?
No, but I have an edit to the
All right.
minutes. Sorry, I've gotta find it on my little phone here. There was a conversation, the paragraph that begins, the budget committee asked of the school if this proposed budget is the only budget that will not negatively affect that paragraph. The very last sentence says, but it was ultimately determined that any of these reductions would be a detriment to the students and staff. I believe 2 of the reductions we did agree that, but the high school trust was one where we just had not discussed with the full board whether it could be used.
So we should say that 2 of these reductions,
Yes, the decreasing food services, the physician and academic director, those were the 2 that were identified.
okay, good catch. I looked at that and thought it was okay, I will second that change.
All right, as amended, did you get that?
Yes,
All right.
yes.
Thank you.
Make sure the scribe gets it. All right, as amended. Those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? All right. Now, as I said, I'd like to just change the order because we've got a number of people here that are, I'm assuming, are here for the school budget. And some of them, at least 2 of them, have a little further to go to get home tonight. So I would like to let them go first so that they can go, and you wanna lead off, because you had a
Sure.
sort of summary sheet of what you've done.
Right, so, we, lowered the budget to the 3.3, it's roughly $159,000. A very active discussion at the last board meeting yesterday, which I was not at because I was ill. But the consensus of that meeting was to look towards the high school trust. Today, it turns out to be the day in which Vermont has to announce their tuitions and make them public. And so we got the official tuition from Thetford, and we got the official tuition from St. Johnsbury. And I contacted Hanover, and they gave me the tuition that they haven't actually announced yet, but this is what the tuition is going to be. So we plugged those in, and Hanover has had, they have a fairly complicated formula they use, but built into that was capital improvement money and bond money. And they have paid off their 10-year bond for all the improvements they did to those buildings 10 years ago. And so that's why we're now seeing a reduction in tuition, because that's coming out of the formula at the level that it once was. So we put those real numbers into our budget, and so the net result of that was that we only have to take $60,000 in high school reserve money to bring it all the way down, bring the whole $159,000 down. So that's good. That will leave the high school reserve at $400,000. So that's down some. And I think if we want to get to our goal probably over the next couple of years, I think your board will, the school board will work to bring that down more. And do it over a period of a few years is probably a better way to do it than do it all at once, because then you have to make it all up in taxes. So we felt very, very good about that, so we are where we are. Answer questions. We think it helps the town out a little bit to, we hit your target, and we're absorbing that bond payment into our first year, which is a pretty big hit, so.
I didn't look at the quote warrant, cause I didn't have it. Do you have any money articles other than the one big one?
We have two
Yes.
trust warrant articles.
All right.
Do you not have that?
I think I have it here. Those are usually cut and dry because there is, if you have a surplus, right?
Yep,
Right,
yep, and, so Article 3 is the transfer from surplus to the Enrollment Response Trust. And that is a total of $27,000 to come from fund balance. And that's to bring the Enrollment Response Trust up to the teacher, cost of one teacher plus benefits. And then Article 4 is transfer $50,000 from the surplus to the Maintenance Capital Reserve Fund.
And then the salary of your people there. for-
Yeah. Yep,
Yes.
and that's also in Article 2, yeah, those,
It's Article 5,
All
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
What I would like to do is, if anybody on the board has any questions about the school budget at this point in time, and anybody in the public has any comments they want, and then I'd like to take a motion for basically our recommendations to go to the public hearing, which I think is what, 3 weeks out?
is the 5th.
Sorry, yes, the fifth.
So that the next time we have to deal with the school is at the public hearing, if everything works well. Because they took our guidance.
I would like to say, if I may, thank you very much. It really is a relief, and it shows really strong intent to try and come together and make a budget that the town residents can approve, no matter whether it's school function or town function. Really appreciate it.
That we can work together and have a common meeting of the minds.
the more the better.
More or less.
I have a question. So I think we heard last time, and if you could remind me, that there was a intent to withdraw 60 or 70,000 from the high school reserve budget for this year, but then, or some amount, I don't recall what it was, but then you ended up not withdrawing that.
Yep, so we had budgeted, so we budget the deficit, right, in that line of $50,000 for FY '25, which is what we're in now. We have lost a couple of high school students, so that number will not be used in FY '25. So we will not, so that, the trust fund balance should maintain into the next fiscal year.
We were gonna be taking out more than the 60,000 to get to 3.3.
Right, but yeah, I just want
Yeah.
I guess, wanted to be on the record that this often happens, is that less is withdrawn from the, I mean, it's good news that you have less to spend on high school tuitions, but that, you know, there's this intent to spend $50,000 or $100,000 out of the high school budget, and then you just kinda like, it ends up being whatever's left over, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I think that happens a lot because you're basing it in the fall on student numbers that aren't gonna come in until the next fall, and that's hard to predict.
Right,
Yeah,
right. So
yeah,
I
and
just-
this year we lost 2 students, which was about $50,000, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it was good news, but let's make sure we keep an eye on the high school reserve trust fund.
Well, as I said, we're gonna have about 400K left in it after this withdrawal.
Well, if they end up withdrawing.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's why we're gonna keep working on it.
Yeah.
Any other comments?
And Frank, did I hear you say that you're gonna strive toward a goal over the next couple of years? There was a number thrown around, but let me, what goal?
What we're thinking about right now is probably around 300.
Mhm.
If we could have that at a level, that would be, I think, more than sufficient. I mean, if tuitions start to really go up high, then you may wanna revisit it again, but
Okay,
I think 300 is probably a good number.
great.
I have a few questions from Zoom.
Thanks. Go.
So this, as compared to last week, is, we're kinda lucky, right? In that, you know, you lost a couple students and then you found out that the cost is going down. So really, that's kinda, right, I mean, kinda got lucky between now and then. Were there any other budgetary line changes up and down that you can highlight? I mean, did not see this budget.
No,
Between last week and this week, no,
No.
Right.
just that, high school.
Okay. And did the school board vote last night on this meeting? I'm sorry, on this budget?
Yes,
And what was that vote?
5-2, and then unanimous for the warrants.
Do you have any input at all on the dissenting votes?
Nope, they just voted no. They
Any
didn't say
comments,
why.
questions, further, any from the public?
I'm answering because Frank wasn't there, I apologize. That's why I know I'm the public.
All right, what I would like to do is I'd like to have if you get out the sheet that's called the warrant from the school, all, the first 5 articles all have dollars in them. So we have to go to the public, hold in the public hearing, all 5, the articles 2 through 5, I'm sorry, have dollars in them. So therefore, what I would like is a motion to take them as written here to the public hearing.
So moved,
All,
all
okay,
5.
all
Articles
4,
2 through, Articles 2 through 5.
2 through 5, Judy. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second. Rich? Are we ready to vote? We need a roll call. Probably it's good whether we have a roll call for this.
I think you should, yes.
Yes. All right. I don't see Vince isn't here. Jennifer isn't here. Judy? Yes, yay or nay?
Yay.
Rich?
Yay.
Hayes?
Yay.
Scott?
Yes.
Bill?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wilks is around the corner here. Yeah. Chris?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
All right, so it's unanimous to take your draft warrant.
Great, thank you.
And thank you. I'm glad we're on the same page this year, at least at this point in time.
So do you wanna move to take the budget to the public hearing as well? This is just the warrant.
No, because we haven't dealt,
Oh, okay.
these, by doing this, we've taken the budget.
The school budget's on it, that's Article 2.
Article 2 is that budget.
That's what I was thinking,
Okay, you can,
That's
never
on.
mind. Got it. We're good. I'm just playing catch up.
Dick, I think it's only 3 through 5.
See, that's what I just did.
That's the towns.
What?
That's not the school.
Vote to raise and appropriate 9/4.
Never mind, I'm looking at the
Oh,
town.
there's a Yeah, it's 2 through.
I didn't have that paper.
We don't wanna skip the 9.4 there, Bill.
I put it in the order of the agenda. It was rocking the boat over there, sorry.
Well,
We'll find out after
it's the very
I
last
thought
one.
maybe I read it one of these times, but I guess not.
Keep digging.
That's
Yeah.
it.
I wouldn't
I got
want you to
the
get,
I think I messed up.
Got it right.
Absolutely.
all right.
I wrote on the back of it, so I'll get you another one, I promise.
Do you need another?
All right, now we're playing the town, Judy.
Okay, you.
I'll see if I can use this.
If we can all get on the same page again, it would be wonderful.
Well, I would love to start by saying that, today and yesterday, I had some additional conversations with folks. So the select board is meeting again next Tuesday, and we'd like to request that we have an additional meeting because we may have some changes and some updates. That said, there are probably 2 things of interest in this draft number 6, which means we'll probably have draft number 7. We went back in and put in some additional monies for the fire department. We're not finished, we're in discussions with them about several ways that we can increase and in other areas make economies.
I've got you
That's page,
cut 4,000 from the fire department.
well, we actually cut more than that, but
You had
That's-
put that back in before the last meeting, some of it.
yes,
That's
some of it. If you were on draft 6, draft 5 showed,
I'm going from 5 to 6 was a change of 4,000 down on fire.
okay. Let me find it, because, so, we were down about, draft 5 showed us down about $25,000 cut from their budget. Draft 6 showed us down about $20,000 cut from their budget. Bottom line.
You're comparing it to something different. I was comparing it to the budget you presented last time, which was in December.
Ah, yeah,
One area.
Not from the department, but from the first selectman budget. That's where we're
I'm,
not on the same
I'm
page.
comparing it from what they asked for and what we submitted. We are still in discussion with them. We would like the opportunity to continue to discuss with them their needs, how we can meet at least some of those needs in a better way than we have so far. Which brings me to number 2, which is under executive, the select board budget, which is the very first page. In draft 5, we had taken out part-time or full-time clerk, I'll call it a clerk 2, who was going to hopefully do some bookkeeping, some grants administration, grants searching, some miscellaneous other work in both the select board office, the town clerk office, and hopefully also for the fire department with some of their paperwork, their filing, their reports. As we all know, if you do anything in the world today, there's much more reporting than there used to be. It's getting to be a heavy load. We were hoping to, the select board at their last meeting said they wanted me to come in with that position put back in, which at the end of the day raises the select board budget up quite a bit.
And also elections and registration.
Yep, and shows a, Dina, correct me if I'm wrong, it's more than a 3.89 increase.
The total increase is a 5.8.
5.8, thank you. So, if we take out the things that we've since put back in, we would have been back to where we were a couple of versions ago at 3.89. Which is why I'm asking that we have another few days to have our second meeting to try and resolve some of these issues and see what we can do, because we also would really like to meet. I don't think we can meet 3.3, but I think we can come in lower than the 5.8.
All right, the major increase that I see in what the selectmen are proposing this year is they're adding a full-time position.
That's one increase, yes, that's all new.
That-
There are other departments that have,
I'm not looking at the $1,000 here and $1,000 there, Judy. I'm looking at the $75,000, $100,000 item, which is adding a full-time position. The rest is round-off error.
I would disagree with that, but that's okay.
Well, so I mean, the big decision is, to me, because it's the driver of whether you could ever get to 3.3 or not, is whether you add that position or not. Because you're not gonna get to 3.3 if you add a full-time person.
Well, we got to 3.89 by taking that position out and also taking out some very important items from the fire department of about $20,000, which is not pennies and peanuts. And also, we've reduced the tax anticipation note interest, which we put it down to 30,000, which is what it was this year. In the budget, but we spent 45, so, you know, that's a big number as well. There are numbers out there that are pretty big that we are trying to buffer, more than just a couple $100 here and a couple $1,000 there. But you're right, it is a full-time position that we definitely would like to see. If we don't see it this year,
It
I
is.
understand, we will have to see it next year, and if we don't get it next year, Dina's gonna quit, Jordan's gonna quit, I'm gonna quit, we're all gonna quit.
I quit a number of years
And you
ago.
quit a number of years ago, you know how it is.
All right.
I also, I'm looking through here, and there are a couple of items for $12,900. Is that the Avatar assessing
They're
software?
We were,
not in this budget, so.
I don't know, it shouldn't be in this budget because
Okay.
we were able to pay the Avatar, the new software, and the new, update
Mhm.
out of this year's
Ah,
end of year money.
Okay, because they were in these marginal notes, and I wasn't quite
Yes.
sure if they were adding.
They're only there to show you what it was gonna be if we had to pay it next
So
year.
good, you did squeeze it
Next
into last
year.
year.
It's not in here, correct, and then they carried over the assessment amount.
So that,
You look as though you're about trying to say
I wasn't sure if
something.
it was time for questions, I have
Yeah,
a
go
question.
ahead.
Big picture, can you walk through this 5-point whatever budget and tell us what the impact is of the cuts? I looked specifically at, we talked about roadside mowing at one point. I know it's been cut from the budget before and then added back in.
Some
you know,
is
what are
here,
other
but some
ones?
is out. We're looking at maybe doing it every other year. If we have we always love to have mild winters, where then we have a little extra, and then we can hire someone to come and do some of that. But,
For like the police budget, there was the 3 FTE for half a year, and is that still the same?
yes, it is.
Okay.
The chief is projected to retire the end of June.
Mhm.
So he gets paid for the first 6 months of the year, and we're gonna be
They did that last
entertained. So, but we also have a new chief and a new, patrol officer,
Mhm.
and they started January 1st, so they will go the whole year, but at the 6-month mark, we will lose one, the most expensive person who will be out, and that includes benefits and salary.
Okay, so that original budget you proposed is essentially still the same for the, okay.
I haven't compared it, but we haven't pared it down, we still have those positions.
Yeah, I guess I'm just trying to understand the impact of, cuts have an impact, and so what's the impact gonna be to the town? And
Well, one of
roadside
the
mowing's top
things-
of my head, cause I'm looking at
One of
Los
the
Angeles
things Dick really
ground.
hates is a lot of the cuts that add up to some amount of money are small.
Yeah.
Instead of $1,000, 500, instead of 1,500, maybe 1,200. At the end of the day, you save a little bit, but the big ones, are either really big, like the FTE,
Yeah.
or in some other cases.
Okay,
Can I just say one thing, between draft 5 and draft 6, it was a $55,766 cut. So, and that really encompassed the, part-time for the full-time person, benefits, and then a chunk in the fire.
So that 55 is the cut from the original budget, is that what you're saying?
No,
Not from the
draft
original,
five.
from draft 5.
So how do we cut it but then go back up to 5.8?
The entire, no, the difference between draft 5 and draft 6
Was the ad.
is a $55,000, right?
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Yeah, and overall, it's been $115,051.
Originally coming in at draft 5, we had cut 170,000 and change, so we put some monies back
Yeah,
in.
you put it back, yeah. All right, I've got a question here, and I have a little problem because we're trying to hit a moving target with the OE budget as far as I'm concerned. I don't know how other people, but every time I look at it, we get different numbers, and they're not changing by a couple of thousand, they're changing by many thousands. And we've got at least two departments here that wanna say something.
Oh, I'm just here in case you have questions. I'm good
Scott?
either way.
Same thing.
They didn't wanna be home tonight.
Yeah.
Because normally when I see a department head show up at this point in time, the selectmen cut something that they think they need. I don't know what people wanna do with this. Because we're not ready to vote it to go to a public hearing, because the selectmen aren't ready to present something to us.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I think by cutting the fire and the associated, you know, things that they're asking for, well, first of all, my problem with Aaron was I don't think he was realistic enough. And what he gave you was a bare bones budget, unlike what the school did. And I think he went through and cut everything he could see and then presented us with a budget because he thought we would go through this process. Now, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I think unfortunately my last year's budget shows that we didn't quite hit our mark.
So what you're doing is you're basically taking away from members of our town that are volunteer, that are putting their lives at risk, not, you know, a couple nights a week, but every night a week. I think that they had almost 300 calls last, and you're sending them into situations which most of the time are pretty benign, you know, a tree falls on a wire, but there are those times where they actually do have to go into harm's way, whether it's entering a burning building to save people or property, whether it's they have to take control of a traffic accident where somebody is seriously injured and it's dark and it's rainy and cars are rushing around them. And what we were essentially saying when we start cutting their budget is their safety is not that important. Their well-being is not that important. And these are people that are volunteering their time to help people in absolute need, not where hours and days matter. We're talking seconds and minutes. If you have a stroke and you can't get to a hospital within an hour because you don't have anybody who's gonna pick up that phone when you call for help, that's gonna be a negative outcome. Same with somebody who's injured on the side of the road. And, you know, if you start cutting the supplies and the things they need not only to do their job, but also to protect them, I think that is a very, very scary place to go as a town. And, you know, I feel like Jen Boylston was actually really correct the last time in our discussion. It's a discussion we need to have as a town with the school and this budget at the same time, because they're not mutually exclusive, right? Our taxes pay both, and we need to start figuring out as a town, like, okay, the school budget is large, and, you know, the way I look at it is like a car, right? A Toyota will get you from point A to point B just as well as a European import will. What as a town do we think that we deserve to give our children? Because everybody's gonna want all the bells and whistles. But if the outcome's the same, and there's things we can reduce in the school budget that then allow us to pay for emergency services and give them the chances to be successful safely, I think that we really need to take a good hard look in the mirror at who we are and what we're asking our neighbors to do. And, you know, there are people here who have food insecurity in our town that are being threatened by this, and I get that.
Or heating insecurity.
Yeah, yep.
Medical.
And medical as well, yeah. I mean, people should not have to make those choices in this town, in my opinion.
I think, at least in my mind, which is one reason why I was very happy that the school was able to come down to the 3.3, was I saw that the town was not gonna be 3.3. And by adding the two together, it's not as if both of them were coming in at 7.5%,
No,
which
I
I
agree.
think was too much. But the fact that the school was able to come in with the 3.3 without adverse impacts by the use of the high school tuition line primarily, and the fund, I think we have to look a little bit at the fire department too, because they have an equipment fund there, as how we use that fund for meeting some of their needs. But I see, at least in my mind, and I'm just one member of this board when it comes to their committee, is by the school able to get their budget down to inflation, they gave us more wiggle room in the town budget. And in prior years, it had been the other way around. The school was not able to come close to inflation and left no wiggle room at all in the town budget. So this is something a little different.
I would like to strongly express my agreement with Ryan, because I think we've been riding on the back, not riding on the backs, because I don't think they're unhappy with it, but we have some longtime town residents who have supported us tremendously, and it doesn't strike me they're overpaid. Let's put it that way. And so I think the highway department, the fire department, things like that, I'm all for supporting them fully.
If I did some arithmetic, I may not have it exactly right, but if we were to come up with a budget to meet our CPI cost of living number, we would need to find another $72,000 to do that from the 2024 budget to the selectmen's budget for this year coming up. Is there any prospect, Judy, that that number is, are you looking for that number, or are you just working with what you have, you gave us this time, and see what happens?
No, I have been looking for that number from drafts 1 through 6. We certainly want to support the fire department. We've been trying to take things out and gradually put them in. There's one other position that we have, and we are concerned about the highway because we know it's very close there.
Yep.
You know, the only way that I can see to actually find $70,000, even if we don't do the clerk position, which I think we need, will be cut back some of the open office hours. Maybe somebody has to go to part-time instead of full-time. Those are the realities. And,
Can I just correct one thing?
yes, ma'am.
If you remove the full-time person and benefits, it brings you to a 3.4.
Okay.
So that's less than 70,000, yeah. 3.4, I don't think anybody
I don't
would
know if
argue
it's
with.
3.3, 3.53, but I mean,
Yeah.
what I was really trying to get was a sense that it's not unrealistic that you would come back with a budget that's closer to 3 point something
That's true.
than the 5.87. And I respect Ryan and others that have expressed concern about what the fire department needs and so forth. That's way beyond my skill set. I don't have any capability of making an analysis, and I depend on you guys and the chief to do that. So, I mean, whatever you come back and tell us, I take as
Well, I
truth.
would certainly hope that that would be the end of it, because I can tell you that I've spent many, many sleepless nights trying to go through this. Having been a certified EMT on a two ambulance rescue squad in rural Vermont, my heart goes out to those guys. I know what it's like.
Yep.
I don't drive a snowplow, I shovel with a shovel, but, you know, it's 20 degrees out and it's snowing like mad and you're out there freezing your buns off, it's no fun.
Right, I
On a
mean,
warm day.
many
On a
of
warm
us-
day, yes.
yeah, many of us have had
We all know what it's
experiences
like.
in life where we did a job that was not fun, not pleasant, not well paid, you know, whether it was in the military or otherwise. No question about that. Really, I wasn't trying to put this on
No,
anybody.
I
A
didn't
lot of
take-
these people aren't getting paid at all.
I take it, I take what you're saying, but this is, yes, we will try the best we can to get there. I can't make that decision myself. I had conversations last night, I had conversations today. I knew that we couldn't hold a meeting before this meeting, so we meet next Tuesday to come back.
Oh,
That'll be our goal.
That's the least we can do to help you out, is to come back again. I don't have a problem with that. I was just looking for some sense from you, are we already to the rock and a hard spot kind of thing? Or is there still some places here where you can,
I think we're
Little away
close
from-
to the rock, but I think
yeah,
that we need the time to, everybody realize how close we are and see what we can do to make it work.
And I think that's all, I mean, that's all I can ask, is you have to do the job with the money that you end up with. We don't have to do it. I mean,
That's
all we
right.
can do
Lucky me.
is sit here and look sternly at you.
And lucky them.
So I'm, you know, we asked the question last year, we're getting good value for our money. I think,
Yes, you are.
you know, I mean, that, you've proven that, I think, with this year's budget. And so the question goes back again. We don't wanna be penny wise, pound foolish. We
Exactly.
don't wanna ask someone to do something without the tools they need to do it, and so forth, all of that.
Absolutely, yep.
Okay.
I guess this is more of a observation than a question, but, the extra, police chief, I guess, for half a year is really driving a lot of the budget increase. It's approximately 2.5% of the budget increase. I'm not gonna argue whether that's something we should discuss or not, but I don't think that given that constraint, that we should be, overly beholden to a 3.3% overall increase or something. And so I think, you know, the amount, that increase in line item is more than the proposed police or fire department budget. So-
Right, that's a good point, yeah.
So
If it were a different year and you had 2 full-time police officers, you would have that extra cash. And that would be,
Right. Let me sort of summarize where I think we are with the problem issues that people have brought up. Or at least the issues to be looked at. One is the extra full-time administrative person is 75,000 a year or something like that, if you add all the pieces together. When we make the decision to get that person, we're spending 75,000.
it's about 60, but that's okay.
Or 60, all right,
Whatever.
whatever it is.
Yep,
We've got an identified need for the fire department for additional equipment, both personal protective and working tools, for lack of a better way of wording it. Is that,
Yeah, I think, yeah, we'll go with that.
all right, of X thousands of dollars. We've got the police chief retirement rotation, X thousands of dollars. Now, in a way, these are one-time items. And if we, in another way, they're ongoing, like the extra person. But they're what are basically pushing us from the 3 to 3.5% up to the 5.5%. Now, you may be able to play around with some little in and outs and some of the change items, but those are the 3 drivers. Are there any other drivers that are what preventing you from getting down into the 3.5 range?
those are the biggies.
All right,
Dina, anything that you can think of other than those?
how are you, Scott, on that?
But
You're
you
here.
can't.
We don't know.
Highway department normally spends the most money of any department.
Thank God.
I'm fine.
Say it out loud.
Well, it's a tight budget.
His
period.
budget is
I mean,
tight,
it's,
yeah.
you know,
He could have used more and
but
came
I
in
don't-
and took some out, but
I will say, I'm not really sure how you can change anything in the police budget though, so.
I don't think we can, but that is one of the drivers.
That's one of the big things. Now, the reason I'm proposing those 3 things, if we meet next year and have a meeting of the minds on those 3 items, then we don't have to debate, you know, $100 in the library budget. It isn't gonna make any difference. Those 3 items are gonna be the ones that drive it. Do people sort of agree with me? And if it weren't for those three items, we'd be happy and we'd be just like we went with the school earlier.
2 of 3 next year.
What?
2 of 3 next year, because hopefully Sean was successfully able to retire. So that won't be a driver next year.
No, but all right.
Yeah.
Well, no, if you catch up on your equipment won't be as much next year either.
No, but I think more, well, that's it, yeah. I
Yeah.
think more to Sean, like, Sean, if Sean is still here next year when we're sitting here having this conversation, something else has happened where,
Right,
Yeah.
but you still have 2.
correct,
If he's still here, you will have 2, not 3.
Right, that's,
right.
That's right.
it'll be a different.
But he better not be here. 'Cause
He'll be
he's-
very happy.
He's got
I will have
plans.
an unhappy neighbor.
Yes.
That's right.
Stay away from that part of town.
Yeah. Don't walk out to get my mail.
Well,
So I have a thought or a comment, and if I may, is it a good time? And I'm not an economist or an accountant or anything like that, but I'm thinking more of the concept of combining in our minds the school and the town budget going forward, because they all do matter to the town in some way or another. And so when we talk about an increase of the school budget of a certain amount, and we talk about the increase of municipal budget a certain amount, they're very different dollar amounts we're talking about, right? And so I'm a proponent of the way this draft is now, because if you, and maybe, I don't know if I did this math right, but, you know, if we're looking at what the 5.8%, that's a dollar amount increase of 55.7, right?
And 5% of 10 million is a lot more.
So if we combine the two proposed budgets over last year's approved
I see what you're
budgets,
saying.
the percent increase of the two is 2.95.
So by the time you, I see what you're saying, yes.
So that is with this current municipal budget, including the extra person and including all of the fire,
Well,
extra equipment that they're asking.
They're still cut a little bit, but
So
yes, I
with
I
that
get your point.
concept,
That
I
concept.
think that it's important to look at it that way. Because
And
it's not just about the percentage,
I
it's about the dollar
appreciate
amount.
that, it's the overall percentage, which is where we talked about when we started, if it goes up 10% every year, it's
Oh,
not
yeah.
sustainable. I heard from people on the school board that they tried very hard this year to come up with something that was much less than usual, because they were aware that the town had some real needs. And I truly appreciate that, I expressed that to the people who spoke to me, and that's such a good point that you make, because overall, the tax rate, there won't be the hit that we've had the last several years when you get your tax bill. It's, thank you,
Yeah,
it's
I think
tremendous, it's a
overall,
great way
it's
to
too
look at it.
much to quibble over this right now, as opposed to, because of the dollar amount, as
Mhm.
opposed to what we just
So to
approved.
look at the total amount spent last year to the total amount spent this year,
If we add the two
if we
together.
add the two together, I really like that, because that, I think I will sleep better tonight. And, I'm not gonna be on the phone going, all right, I need another $250 to come out of this budget somewhere.
No, but I think you're right there, and I think I was hinting at
Thank
it when
you,
I said
Bruce.
I was very happy that the school was able, because that gave us some wiggle room in the town budget.
Yeah.
And by working together, obviously, we're working for the taxpayer.
Right.
Now, the one other thing that I wanted to bring up is, on all the other warrant articles here besides the two capital reserves and trust funds adds up to 410,000. Is that the same as last year
It
for the total?
absolutely is,
Right, that was the
Yeah.
question that I had about that one.
yep.
Um,
And we do know that those are going to have to start going up, because vehicles
And equipment are
and
getting
equipment
expensive.
are getting way
Well, the
expensive.
vehicle really, really, really seriously needs to be bumped up.
Yep. So,
So we've got an unmet need there.
I had one other question for Judy. Do you expect any surplus this year?
this year,
I see there's about 160,000 left after, from the 5th of December.
yep, some of that got spent in December. There was a small amount, I can't remember exactly how much, And we did use a portion of it to prepay, well, received the invoices for the Avatar
Oh, that's what you said.
software
Yeah.
and
I
the
haven't
reval.
I still have some invoices that I'm processing right now.
Okay, that will get paid.
So
So we'll end up with about,
I'm guessing around 70.
So that, I mean, and you can carry that forward, I assume, and then
we
that,
can carry forward what we have invoices for,
right.
but the unspent.
No, he means the unspent, we can carry
Yeah,
that.
the unspent just
We don't-
goes
it
into the
goes into the
undesignated fund balance.
undesignated
I understand,
fund balance,
but-
that's what he meant.
But it was money appropriated, I mean, raised by taxes and other
Raised, right.
sources,
Right.
so presumably that's available to offset, something from the budget coming up next.
It
When
goes-
they set the tax rate.
Right.
It rests when they set the tax rate.
Okay,
The
so-
undesignated fund has been drawn down, so we're trying to build it back up.
Understand. I was only looking for, and the other thing, we've talked about, equipment, fire and town, we do have funds for those as well.
We have funds, they need to be beefed up. I think we're going to get the highway department, we hope, out of the capital reserve fund, 2 trucks. And we need to talk to the fire department about what they need a rescue vehicle.
Right.
Um,
Will that, will the effect of the funds, the ins and outs of the fund, affect the operating budget or not? I mean,
I-
it's a question whether you put the capital expense in the operating budget or you.
No, we like to put the capital expense in the capital
Good,
budget.
I think that's
We-
sound.
We try and save for it and then spend it.
Yep.
And I believe what we've got on the docket right now, again, I have one last thing we have to look at, cause it was kinda late coming. But I think we're there, but then we, as the school has done with the high school fund and some others, we've drawn down, we need to put that
Okay.
into those funds. So next year will be probably a similar discussion about where we can cut, but we've gotta do it because there will be needs coming forward.
So realistically, we're not gonna reduce the tax impact by taking money out of any of the funds.
I don't think we're gonna reduce the tax impact, we're gonna reduce the increase in the tax impact, because it's already money, it's not new money being collected this year.
Right, okay.
And I think the important thing is that the town capital reserve funds are not overfunded the way the high school tuition was.
Well,
So therefore, it isn't
as some people.
available to be
have
rated.
Have their own opinions.
Well, you may see, if we get 2 or 3 vehicles, there won't
There
be
isn't
much
gonna be
left.
much
I was
left
gonna
in,
say, I can tell you the vehicle one's not, cause once those purchases are made,
particularly the fire
25.
campaign and account. Ooh,
Well, that's,
So,
well, that's not even in there.
yeah,
Well, no,
well, no, I
the
think,
big
no,
trucks are
big
not
truck,
even
but
in there. We're trying to be inventive about the big
I was
trucks.
say I can have like a 30, I won't go 30 minutes, but like 2-minute sidebar, like on kind of some of the stuff we're looking at strategically on that, if people wanna hear that, more for like long-term. If not, we can come to another point. and
let's
yeah.
do it at another meeting, but
That's
we
fine.
know that you
Yep.
are looking ahead, which is good, because that's
Yep.
what we need, and I know Scott does that as well with his trucks, and which one has got the hours on it, or is not performing the way it should.
Yep.
And both you guys have equipment that has special needs, and it's not inexpensive to
Yeah.
put on the line.
As soon as it's red, it's expensive.
But, as you know, typically this town supports you.
Yep, yep.
And that's a good feeling, unless you're buying a chainsaw.
that's consumable.
I'll never forget that.
Mhm.
Sorry, I'm a broken record.
Well, we put $500 worth of chainsaw one time year in the budget, and the next year we put $2,000 all tools. We spent 2 hours assessing the 500, we didn't even mention the 2,000 the next year. Where do we sit now? We sit waiting for the selectmen's sort of final revision of their proposed OE budget
Correct.
for next week. So for next week, we would have their final presentation of the OE budget.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that identifying those 3 items that are the big drivers, you know, police, fire, and extra person, will make that go a lot faster.
In the spirit of helping next week go faster, do you wanna look at any of the warrant articles and see if anybody has any questions?
Well, the warrant articles, we might as well just go through them and see if there's any questions. We've got the two people that like to spend money sitting here. All right, the first of the money warrant articles is,
The budget, we just talked about,
Which is-
Article 3.
there's three, I forget where we are here. I'm
That's
missing
in
a
it,
page
that's
somewhere.
right, so-
Oh, here it is. And then Article 4 is two capital reserve funds. Do anybody have any questions on that warrant article? That's the same as last year.
The total amount is the same,
And
the ins and outs may be slightly.
No, I don't.
we know we're not putting enough money in
Yep,
a number of the funds.
yep.
Yeah, well, mostly the vehicle.
But I don't know anybody that puts enough money in their reserve funds or their depreciation account. No questions there. We have $600 going into the recreation facility capital reserve fund. What is $600 going there for? Tennis court maintenance or something?
Well, the capital fund for the recreation facility is for the whole facility out there. We use it, the rec commission uses
Oh,
it
for
when
the
something
beach and-
breaks and blah, 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 blah. Well, not necessarily stuff that's in the operating budget, but, and this money is generated from the rental of the boat racks. So, we have to vote to put it into the capital reserve fund.
Oh, all right, so this is not taxpayer money directly,
Correct.
all right.
I don't think any of the rest
Block
of
grants,
No.
not, that's an in and out.
Yep,
Public work facility, we're taking out 81,717
Yep, that's the
for
fire
the fire
station.
department bond.
Yep.
I think that we've already voted in a sense. Withdrawal from the vehicle capital reserve fund.
Sorry. Yeah,
two highway department trucks.
Are these 5-tonners, Scott, or are they a
one.
5 and a 1?
5 and a 1.
No wing on the one either, right?
Yep.
Just a main plow.
No, it's got a wing.
Oh, you're gonna put a wing on this one?
I got wings on both of them.
Oh, all right. In my day, we didn't have wings on the wing.
It all depends on who you put in them, puts on a person though. I mean, I'll tell you guys right now, the 1-tons, I'd like to get onto a 7-year schedule. I can buy a 7-year warranty, 100,000 mile warranty. And I think I'm gonna save money in the long run in my parts and equipment.
What are they on for now for rotation on them? 8,
10,
10.
10?
too long.
Yeah, they're not exactly heavy built vehicles anymore.
No, we got, the 16 we got right now it's just about done.
I'm not gonna touch that right now.
Well, we'll pull out some of the totals we've spent on the older ones.
Oh, well, there is a time where it's cheaper to buy a new one periodically than try to keep the old one running.
I mean, it's $7,000 for the extended warranty, and it's premium, it covers just about everything,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, we as a select board have talked about looking at that and supporting Scott in it.
Right now, the only equipment we have up there with warranties on is the backhoe that we purchased last year. And the truck that we purchased a couple years ago, we just barely took delivery of it early this winter. That's the only thing that's got warranties on, so.
All right. People know enough about the vehicles right now. what we're doing the next couple of year. 8,000 to fund the computer system upgrade.
Mhm.
That's all within the fund, and that was been planned for a long time, I think, hasn't it?
Yep,
Dick, should the heading of that be withdrawal from computer system upgrade?
I think
Reserve
it's,
fund? I mean, it's very clear what it's doing though.
yeah, rather
as far
than
as the
reserve
wording
funds.
goes, the attorney will change what needs
Oh,
to be
okay, all right.
changed, and so will the
I'll
DRA,
find this too.
so.
Computer system
thank you.
upgrade
Okay.
capital reserve
Yeah.
fund is, yeah, it should probably go in there, but.
I'll see what they say, it's off with the attorneys already, so.
All right.
EMS truck for $88,000, that's new,
Yeah, that's one of the,
and that's not covered by the
Discussions they
vehicle
just
capital reserve fund,
yes,
correct?
it is.
It is? Oh,
Yeah, it just about.
It is, and that title will change once it gets voted.
That's one of
coming
the
from the
things
capital
that,
reserve. Yep.
Are you gonna
That
get
we-
something that everybody can drive?
I hope so. I don't ever wanna say that everybody can drive everything, because I've yet to see that, but I think, yeah, it'll be nice, the plan is a 3/4 ton crew cab pickup with lots of backup cameras that also hook to a trailer, that also allows the trailer to have backup cameras. So in
Four-wheel
theory, we
drive?
also, oh god, yeah, yeah, we'd be in a world of trouble if we had a 2-wheel drive. Yeah.
And I think it's important to point out that there's some funds that are donated and some
Yep.
funds that they're using from the fire association.
And there's more to come there, but.
So it'll cost more than that, the 90,000, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
So that's
Are we-
basically gonna bring the whole vehicle capital reserve fund down to zero, so that
Very
225 is gonna
That's very
be
We're
close.
all
gonna-
that's in it.
We're gonna have $143,000 left in the vehicle capital reserve fund.
How many miles are on
You're
your trucks at
behind in
70
the
years?
appropriations
Oh.
into it.
Yeah, yeah,
Close, though, yes, that's a concern.
yep,
And this Independence Day celebration, that's the money we used to make from selling chicken.
it's just hanging out there waiting for somebody to have a celebration with it, year after year.
And here are the milfoil numbers.
And the milfoil, I just got those today, oh gosh, so,
That's something, once you start, you can't stop because you can never catch up.
that's right.
And then cemetery maintenance in here,
Mhm.
it's pretty standard stuff.
That's that computer program they're gonna purchase, but just haven't worked it all out yet, so. It's an easy one this year.
All right, is there, everybody sort of squared away about what we have to do next week?
I wanna say one good thing, the fire truck payment, this is the last year, 25 is the last year,
Aha,
so that will go away.
And the firehouse is
And the
only a couple
bond, yep,
years.
the bond is gone for the garage, which is good. And the firehouse will be paid off in 27. This building will be paid off in 28, so we're getting there.
There are very few towns, honestly, like, that I visit for municipal insurance outside of here, that have the infrastructure that is paid for, like we are right here. It's pretty remarkable that the timing is worked out, that this building has been replaced, and the fire station, and the school's in good shape, and the highway garage is in good shape, like, it bodes well going forward as long as we maintain this stuff.
I should add, the school roof will be paid off, not this next budget year,
Yeah.
2027.
yeah, but you got a big bond issue last
Right.
year
Well,
to pay
yes,
off.
but the small things matter, as Judy has proved.
All right, is there anything else people wanna discuss,
Or want more info on,
or more info
If
on?
let us know.
Think of something, let Dina know.
Yeah.
She's really good at last minute
Because-
requests.
Next week, we're going to have to vote what we take to the public hearing. And that also drives people getting the DRA forms in line, because they're prepared, assuming we're not gonna change anything as a result of the public hearing.
Can I just ask a process question? So let's say the select board goes crazy and Juice stays up all night, decides to cut $100,000, and Brian and Scott say absolutely not, and we're gonna add it back in. How does that process work next week if they come up with a budget that,
We can do anything we want with it they come in with next week.
so would you go and say, I wanna add $25,000 to the budget, or I wanna add $25,000 to this line?
It depends on what you wanna say, you
Oh,
can say
yeah.
either one.
Okay,
But after next.
I don't want you to stay up late, that's all.
Thank you very much.
After next week, any quote, significant change would have to result in a second public hearing.
Right.
And we do not wanna have to have a second public hearing. So we're, in reality, pretty close, unless something really happens. We've had a couple of times over the years where something has really happened, and we'd have to have a second one.
Well, you do have that extra week, but if there's any significant, what that does is makes Jordan and I really nervous about getting stuff for DRA, getting stuff for the town report, getting all that done. So if you're gonna suggest a significant change, next week is the best time to do it.
Yep,
Well, I
because then
think
when you go to public hearing, you've got.
You've already done it,
What the
it's
budget
there.
committee has thought should be the final budget,
Right,
and that's the one that goes to town meeting,
Right.
so that's where you wanna be.
right.
Any further questions, comments? I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Uh-oh, here we go.
Good luck.
So who moved that? Well, oh my goodness, 8:01.
Well, people get sort of star hazy after about an hour.
I was gonna say, what's the call? I know.
I everything looked at you.
Well, literally, Yo-Yo came in the door with Brian. And I'm like,
Today, and
she can't be left.
honestly, I kept coming up with different
Thank
numbers, I
you.
even went to the calculator, still was different, I kept flipping these numbers.
Well, the worst thing is on spreadsheet.
It is 10:03. We will begin, look, I'm remembering something, with the public session. And we have two folks with us, Bill?
I did have a question. If I'm not mistaken, there was a budget committee meeting on the 15th, and I don't remember seeing a notice of that anywhere or receiving any kind of a notice about it. So I was wondering what was the story here.
Okay, I can't tell you, you'd have to look into that, but
Well, I can tell you that it was posted, absolutely,
Was it? Okay.
yeah,
I
it
didn't
was.
get an email, so I didn't.
Interesting, yeah, well, it may not have been, I'll have to ask Jordan, I actually think she was out. But no, I'm sure we posted it, yeah, and I know it was posted physically, and it was put on the web, which
and
is by law what we have to do.
Okay.
if
Thank you.
in fact someone was listening in or here in the room, they would have heard that we were having another meeting on that date. But
Okay.
we can definitely check and see
Very
if for
possible
some reason you
that I just
didn't.
missed it, but,
Did you have, when was your surgery? Right
oh no,
after
that was December 5th.
Okay, so it wasn't that you were in a little fog.
Well, that might have been true anyway, but he wasn't doing the surgery.
Okay,
I
very,
will double check.
okay, Rich, do you have something for us in the public comment section?
Are you gonna talk about the potential for having school district and, town meeting on the same day?
Well, changing up the schedule, nothing definitive. Yes, we will talk about
Okay, I would support that.
a broader scope of that.
Okay.
You have Lee, Prince, and Sue McKenzie.
Lee and Sue. Lee, do you have something for us on public session, public comment?
Sure. I have a question. I was hoping that, I did request in writing more details about the RFB project and have not received them, was told I had to wait till after a school board meeting. I was hoping more would be presented at the public hearing. The question I have right now at the public hearing, it was stated that the RRFB will cost $10,000. I'm wondering if there is more information about, one, the devices themselves, are they double-sided on both sides? Will they collect usage data? How will the electricity source be paid? And what is the total cost of the RRFB devices? I guess with it being $10,000, I'm wondering why there's a grant being reviewed later for it. And also, if the select board has a total cost on painting the crosswalk and a plan to do that.
Okay, well, I'll get you some answers to that in a little bit, but we do have some information that we can give you, okay? I've just made a little bit of note, thank you, Lee, and Sue.
Nothing at this time.
Okie dokie, and Aaron, did you want to say anything in the public comment section?
I don't know, I think I'm good.
Okay. All right, there we are, so, let's see, I know what Rich wants, Lee. Let me circle back to Lee, and I don't believe we have any specific additional information at this point, but, the cost is actually going to, in total, run about $25,000. Each unit costs about $10,000, and there's money needed to actually do the installation and the setup. I don't know I suspect they're double-sided, but I don't know that they are, but I know we also need to get the shields, because people have requested that, and that makes sense to us.
Right.
And I don't know if they do usage data, but I also know we're hoping to have them set up with a,
It'll be also,
there'll be solar,
it will be
right?
also,
Thank you.
yes.
So there won't be a big electrical cost, and I'm sure we'll be getting to the painting of the crosswalks, but I don't.
Scotty's getting a price on it, he has not received it yet.
So I think those are the questions, we're gonna keep working at it, but, thank you. And let me move on now, let's do the minutes, the January 9th public meeting minutes. What do we wish to do with those?
I'll move them.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Ben. Any other changes or comments? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
David, aye.
And Judy, aye. The minutes are approved from the 9th. We do not yet have a set of notes or minutes from the forum on the RRFB. I suspect we will see those at our next meeting. We have a manifest in the amount of $224,631.50. Let me say that correctly. $224,631.50. It is the final 2024 manifest.
And I think it's important to say that 200,000 of it was for Edgeo Bridge, so it doesn't come out of the operating budget. So it doesn't put us over our expenditure, total.
Excellent. And just so that everybody knows, Dina told me this morning that we ended the year with a huge amount of money left over.
Okay, where's the budget? Here it is. Sorry, I don't have it exactly memorized, but according to my calculations, we have $47,497 left this year.
So we cut last year's budget pretty close, but we did have enough that we did pay for the reval and the software to switch over. And then we were left with 47, so it's a good thing we didn't have a giant storm or some other big catastrophe.
I'll move it.
You'll move it? Thank you.
I did have one question. There was a thing for green strobe lights. What was that?
For one of the trucks.
Oh, it's the one.
replacement of the flashing
Oh,
lights.
okay, got it.
Okay, all those in favor of the manifest? Okay, and Judy, aye.
Thought it was maybe some sort of Christmas related.
Christmas, yeah. No, we didn't get the lights this year.
They're lime green, I understand.
That's right,
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, the lima beans, remember the lima
gosh,
beans?
yes.
That was the rec soccer, the little kids, they were called the lima beans. I'm not sure if it's cute or not, but that's what they
It's
did.
funny.
So then in our packet, I believe we have a supplemental intent to cut out on Pout Pond Lane. And Ben, have you had a chance to look at
Yeah,
that?
and there's a problem with it.
Oh,
The amount of pipeline he wants to cut, he says 2 million board feet.
yeah,
That should be 2,000 board feet, not 2 million board feet, because it's 1,000 board feet. So if you put 2,000 down, that's 2 million. If you put 2 down, that's 1,000
Well,
board
you
feet.
have to divide by 1,000, so.
So that's a pretty damn
MBS.
big cut.
Oh my gosh.
so can we cross that out and correct it, or do we have to wait for,
Well, if I know what his intent was, then we can.
he's in town, can we have him come in and change this and we can take it up later?
Well, I'm sure he's already cutting, but yeah, sure, whatever.
Well, I don't have any problem,
I think it's
but
the end of the
my
year.
guess was that
Right.
he meant
Right.
2,000. He was gonna cut a couple of trees, and that was,
Let me find out. Go ahead, yeah. it's-
Yeah, okay, you're gonna try and
Hold
reach
on,
him?
I'll see if I can.
Okay,
Which property is this, Dina, do you know?
It is
Above
the
your
one on
house.
Pout Pond.
What's the number?
Swilks McGlade.
I forget what
Blodgett's
number it
old
is, but
house.
it's Pat Blodgett's
Oh,
old place,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, across the street from me.
Yeah.
It's 295 acres, the acre of cut is
Right.
3.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he probably already started, cause he already had an intent to cut.
Well, yeah, he's already cut and now it's, they're gonna go over.
I
So that's
can't,
why.
don't believe there's a problem, but the 2 million board feet is a problem.
Okay, so maybe we'll hear back from him,
It's a big property, you might be able to get 2 million more.
I don't think there's 2 million board feet up
unless
there.
he clip cuts it maybe. All right, so we can't do that, so that brings us to the flashing safety sign on Route 10. Between the library and the school at the place of a disappearing crosswalk, which we are going to paint, I'm quite sure, now that it is up to the town to maintain it. And I believe we were going to send a letter to the Lyme Foundation to ask for their help in installing this. We had, I would think about 20 people maybe, at the most, at the public forum that we held in the evening. And we had some questions, we had some objections, and we had some support. So I think that's a summary. I'm not sure we're prepared to do anything particular today. We do have a few individuals looking for some additional information. I, for one, having already been through this several years ago, believe that it's very important and that we should do it. But I leave this open to you two and any members of the public. We've heard from Lee already, so we know how she feels, and we have a long email that she sent out, I believe, to the public on the listserv that we have access to. Ben, how do you?
I'm in support of it.
Yeah, as am I.
So, I'll entertain a motion to move forward and gather additional information and figure out if we can find the money to do it this year or if it'll be next.
So move.
Thank you, Ben.
I'll second.
Thank you, David. Rich, did you want to further comment on this? You
No,
don't?
nope.
Okay. Bill? Okay, I think we should take a vote then. All those in favor say aye.
David, aye.
And Judy, aye. And it is approved, and we will knock out the particulars.
And is it okay to write the grant and move ahead with that?
I would like to see that done, yes, please. And perfect timing, Mark.
Oh, is there a skiway thing going?
Nope, there is.
Wrong mark.
It's the
No,
other
no,
one.
he's on the
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
cheering
oh.
squad out there.
Oh, okay, didn't know that.
Okay, this is a good time, so we don't take you for too long. Take a breath and, town moderator Mark Schiffman, the school moderator Bill Waste, the school board chair Elizabeth Glenshaw, and I, as chair of the, select board, met, had by Zoom. We had a very good discussion. We were trying to talk about how to involve more people in both of the budget processes, both the town budget and the school budget. And we seem to feel that it would be very good to try and look at options without taking an hour to fill everyone in. And if I say this incorrectly, Mark, you can correct me, but basically to either try and have both meetings on the same day with a break between them, or have them close together in time. And also wondering if perhaps the town meeting should be held later in the day or in the early evening to try and get some of the folks that only go to the school district meeting. My understanding is that the select board can opt to change the time of the business session of town meeting, but only on the day of town meeting, which is the second Tuesday in March. If we wish to make it a different day, like the school has the option to have theirs almost any time in March, we could have it on the Wednesday before the school meeting, or we could have it on the Thursday of the school district meeting before that. In order to do that, I believe we would need to get state approval. Mark, do you wanna quickly fill us in on what you have discovered?
Yeah, quickly, Judy hit the main points. I think the other, Judy brought up the idea that some people had approached the select board with the idea that wouldn't it be nice if the meetings were back to back or some way so they could get to both. At the same time, many of us have been talking about how to get better attendance at town meeting in general, and the question of, in particular, that seemed to be getting a grayer and grayer crowd and less people working age and working times. So specifically along those lines, yes, school board can do the meeting almost any time they want within March. The select board are required to have the business meeting, as it's known, on the 11th, unless we have basically a voter sponsored amendment, warrant article that allows you the freedom in future years to decide other times. So if you wanted to create, yes, so if in the future, the select board might be interested in thinking about other dates to do it, in order to do that, we would need to have a 25-person petitioned warrant article on the ballot for this year. And that would mean something that we would have to decide the next week and a half to get it on for that. Specifically, Judy had a great recommendation to start, which is the idea that perhaps we could have the select board meeting and then, the town meeting, business meeting, like at, in the afternoon, and then go straight into a school board meeting, school district meeting after that. One of the things we brought up is because that is election day in which we are also doing all-day balloting, we need to count votes. And there is a pretty big then overlap between the people who count votes and the people who want to come to the meeting. So the idea of trying to do those both at the same time seemed problematic, and that's why the idea of perhaps having the meetings on a separate day in the alternate came up. And then specifically, one of the other ideas that was kicked around for this year was the possibility of moving the town meeting as an experiment from 9 AM to 4 PM, for instance. That would allow us to have 3 hours before the voting gets counted at the end and perhaps attract a somewhat different crowd. I had brief conversations with the town clerk's office, with Karen and with Emily, who were very supportive of that idea. And we also just said, been talking to Judy, that we wanted to see if we could do more general discussions. At minimum, could we at town meeting this year just ask people what they think? Could we ask people at school district meeting what they think, and perhaps then we might do even more surveying or asking at other times between now and next year. So
that's where we are. If we're gonna do a petition to get permission, we would need to write that up, 25 signatures. Well, there are 8 of us here in the room. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of us here in the room right now. If we approved of it, I would think people would probably approve of having the discussion, but I don't know about if maybe it's too early to have the, an actual vote on it, because it hasn't been discussed widely, although I know a number of people have thought about it. So, Rich?
Just for clarity, were we to pull together a petition, that would go on the warrant in March to apply to a year from now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it simply says, we then can make that decision, not that we have to change it.
Yes, of course, right.
It's empowering rather than requiring.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not sure, but at least I have had concerns mentioned to me that the school district meeting seems to have a fairly regular contingent of folks that is different from the regular contingent of folks that go to town meeting. And a lot of times I think there isn't sufficient overlap for people to really understand the effect of both those budgets being approved. Which is great that we're getting them both approved, but then taxes come out and everybody is in shock because they voted 2 separate budgets that now get combined. So,
Is there any concern with having them both the same day, just if there's a contentious school budget in the future? It doesn't give them much time to then, is there any concern with that if they both are the same day, going back to back? If for instance, the town was upset with a budget proposal and voted it down, then having the municipal follow that has that first piece that just says vote to approve the school board or not, is there any concern with that being the same day?
I don't think so, we've done that before.
Okay.
The major concern seems to be either if someone wants to go to both, it's a very long day.
Yep.
And if the first one runs over by an hour, the second one is delayed.
Yeah.
Usually there's a break there. People have talked about that COVID meeting in May, which everybody seemed to really like. It was a Saturday, it was under a 10. But I think that pushes the town budget way out.
Yeah.
We start paying people in January. If it's not gonna pass, we kinda need to know that before May.
Make adjustments.
And I think people are willing to do that, but again, in the reality, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It's a long day. Having been just at the voting town meetings occasionally for the whole 12 hours, that's tiring. And if you put a couple meetings in the middle of that, it's.
Well, the other issue that Mark raises, of course, is the needing to count votes, you know.
Yes.
You and I count votes, and most, you know, the supervisor of the checklist, and there's all kinds of people who have duties that would pull them away.
Yeah, yeah.
So on my end, I guess the 2 comments I would put out is I do like the idea of investigating a later time for town meeting, which I couldn't see us doing a night meeting. It couldn't, if we're also counting ballots on the same day, a 6 PM meeting like school district does probably would be hard, but a 4 PM could work, because we could do that and have time to switch over to counting. I like the idea of the select board having options for the future, so I would be supportive of the amendment to give all of us opportunities next year to think about more things, whether we stay with 9 o'clock this year or try 4 o'clock this year, or whether we don't. It just is probably worth having that option on the table.
So I think with this board, when we first talked about it, which was only our last meeting, we kind of felt that it might be a little late this year to change up even the time, but supportive of perhaps having a petition to go forward and have the discussions with the school. I think folks have agreed to have a discussion nearer to the beginning of the meeting, so that when everybody gets up and leaves after the vote, there are 3 people left. And do the same with the town meeting, to have near the beginning, a little bit of a discussion. So you get people when they're fresh and thinking. I'm looking for guidance from Ben and David. What would you like to do with this?
I don't know that we're gonna get more attendance to the school meeting no matter what we do.
The school board chair expressed to me that the last several years, they've had pretty good attendance, unlike some previous years where there were like 20 people there. So,
So what's pretty good attendance?
50 people, would you say, Dina?
Yeah, I'd say probably about that.
Last year's school district meeting, I think there were over 300 people.
Last year, there was a lot though, yeah,
Yeah,
but that was the bond,
yes.
that's why. Not to mean it won't happen again.
No, and again, the one other thing that Bill Waste, just wanted to make a point, having done this both together per Aaron's question, was that if the meetings are simple, you can often get to it in a day. It may not be the, on the other hand, if, as with the town meeting one year, we had B, a bond budget and beaver vote, it was,
It went forever. Yes. Those darn little critters. Everybody gets a beaver stole this year. Okay, well, I'm looking, do we wanna go forward with the petition? Do we wanna just have a discussion? I think if, for my part, I would be happy to sign a petition. If there was someone in the public who wanted to sort of push for it, do it. We're pretty busy here in this office right now.
I don't think you should be the ones doing it. What we'd love is that if, for instance, the 3 of you said, you know what, we'd be interested in having this option for next year, I think I can help put that piece together.
Great.
But it's really more up to you 3, what do you 3 think?
I'm in favor of the petition if someone else does it, having the discussion and the option.
Sure.
And it's gonna come to you if it gets
It
petitioned.
will have to come to us
It will
to
come to
support
you
us.
to either recommend it or not recommend it, so that's where you guys
Ben?
come in.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Okay, so I think you have 3 nods in favor. We thank you for your work. More to come.
And for this year, your comfort level is keeping the meeting at 9 o'clock in the morning,
It
not
is.
considering
It
4
is
o'clock.
this
or
year.
something.
Yeah, we did talk about that, and I think we're just gonna bite the bullet and go forward with it.
That's fine.
Okay, thank you, though.
Can I ask a clarifying question here? So you're encouraging there to be a petition that gives the select board the opportunity to change it next year?
In the future, yep.
And then we can hassle it out during the summer and the fall, and good, that sounds great,
Yep.
thank you.
And my understanding is it gives us permission to make that change
As,
going forward anytime.
Yes.
So,
yep,
yeah, so we can change the date, we know we can change the time. I would really love to hear what people think.
Mhm.
And the design is to have that petition on this year's warrant,
Yes, to be
to
voted
get
on.
permission for next year.
It will be on the official ballot.
Right.
So the deadline for that is February 4th.
Okay. And so then, I'm guessing that it's on the warrant, it doesn't have money in it, so the budget committee doesn't need to approve it, just this board. Excellent. Thank you very much for your work, thank you for coming in this morning.
You're welcome. I'll stay a few more minutes.
Okay. I skipped a groove there, but that's done. Let's move to the budget review. Tomorrow night is our second night for the proposed budget. We've gone back and forth a couple times. We're on draft 6C maybe.
6 still, waiting for 7.
So, at the last meeting, this board had said that they would like us to put back in the full-time position for the clerk. I'm gonna call it clerk 2 in the select board office, that would also do some work with the town clerk's office, would be also charged with looking for grants, and if we get them, tracking them, fulfilling what the conditions are, and also possibly doing some of the administrative paperwork for the fire department. So we did that. The budget committee didn't specifically have a comment on that, and we did put extra money into the administrator task at the fire department's budget and the fire chief's salary. He had asked for $20,000 in his line. We sent it back to like 8,000, then we put it up to 12,000. The budget committee cautioned us that they feel that it's very important that the fire department be supported, and they do a lot of good works for the town. Aaron is here, I think, to ask that we bump it up some more. And the goal this year for the budget, both the school and the town, was to come in at the inflation rate, which at the time we started working on budgets was 3.3%. Those are our challenges. Aaron, do you wanna make a
I'm just curious to see where you guys landed, to figure if we should put an amendment forward to the town to have a conversation. I think at the end of the day, and I've asked this for a while, when it's appropriate to do that, because I think the town should make a decision on how they wanna do this.
Okay.
Well, and remember, whatever you guys vote today, the budget committee can still change.
Yep.
If they feel strongly.
And we did get a sense of that
Yes.
Yep.
from the budget committee. I still feel strongly that we should at least put forward the clerk 2 position that we have needed for several years and not brought forward.
I agree with that.
And I think I warned everybody last year, a little bit the year before, 2 years ago, and last year, I even set out in a couple of budget meetings that we needed help.
We need help, yep.
And not only that, but Dina's not gonna work forever. At some point, she's gonna wanna retire, and right now, having somebody else in there who knows how stuff works,
Right.
just starting to sort of decentralize some of the knowledge base in the town office would be a good thing for the long-term
Yes,
benefit
and
of Lyme.
I would welcome having somebody else that's learning
Yeah.
the individual things that I do, because it is important.
Yeah, Jordan's great, but we're
And-
gonna go from
She likes where she is.
having Dina know everything to having Jordan
She
know everything.
doesn't, well, Jordan also doesn't, I wanna speak for Jordan, but she doesn't really, she's not a bookkeeper, she doesn't wanna do that stuff. You know, she's enjoying the assessing end of it and that
Right.
stuff, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, I feel pretty strongly that this is a
Okay,
real good idea,
and
we ought to be
so
doing this.
I-
And for the fire department too, like, you know, when they come in and say, we're spending dozens of hours doing paperwork and administrative stuff, and it's hard to find people who are willing to do that, and having somebody in the office who could jump into that and take at least some of that burden off of their hands would be wonderful.
yeah. Okay, so we'll go forward with that. We can, do we wanna put, so from, hold on, where's my budget?
Can I make one comment about the other person coming in?
Sharing the clerk?
Yeah, not sharing this clerk, just the town hiring another person.
Yes.
I think it's absolutely critical to this town to build a contingency perpetuation plan. And I think Dina has held this post single-handedly for a very long time. And anytime you look at a situation like this, we talk about the hit by bus theory in the fire department all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think the town is very well prepared at this point that if something happened to Dina
You'd
or
have
that
a
she had
bunch
to
of
step
I
away.
was hit by
Old-time-
the bus.
If
Yeah.
you were hit by the bus, yes, old-time select board members all in
Yeah.
there trying to
Right,
figure
and
it
that's,
out.
and I just don't think that's a good position for a town to be in. I
Right.
think
Correct.
this is one of those situations that it absolutely makes sense to provide some depth to begin that training process. That's my
So,
take.
I would say that the first question is, do we move forward with the clerk 2? I'm getting a consensus that we think that's a place to go. The next one, the next 2 big items are the administration line for the fire department. we doubled, well, no, we didn't double. It was 2,500 for the last several years. They asked for 9,360, maybe we could compromise on 7,500 or something like that. And then the big one is the chief salary, which we understand. We came back with 12,000 as opposed to 20, but we could put that 20 in there, and we would try and get the budget committee to support both of those. And that would give us not quite where we first were, but it's gonna be about, I'm gonna say it's gonna be about 6%. Do you know, Dina?
I don't know,
Okay.
because I didn't do that, I'm sorry. but
No,
I-
I'm sorry, I should have gotten to you yesterday, but
I would guess.
I was
between
having puppy
6.5 and 7, yeah. Yeah. Actually, probably, yeah.
So 7-ish, 8-ish, somewhere in there. We are very fortunate this year, the school is coming in with a very low budget because they're tapping into the highway capital reserve, the high school capital reserve fund.
And Hayes's point was very well received, I thought.
Yes, do you wanna tell us what it was?
Hayes said that if you take the school budget and the town budget last year, add them together, then this year what's being proposed, do the same thing. It's a 2.5% overall increase,
Which is probably under the rate of inflation.
which is
Yeah,
amazing. It was amazing to me.
it was amazing to
I never
hear
even
that.
looked at it that way.
Yep,
And again, that's part of the problem.
yes, well,
Like
and
the
that is,
taxes and all
it
that.
goes
Well,
right
that's
back
the
to where
problem.
this
That's right.
conversation began,
Exactly.
that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
You've got this group and this group, and they do their thing, and it never gets
Yeah.
put together until
Yeah.
you do the tax warrant. So, do I hear like a consensus from this board about raising both these up, maybe administration not quite that far, and go with the chief salary, or go for broke and put them both in there? Support them all the way,
It's okay with me.
Ben?
What line are we on?
We are on page 5, line 154, administration, and line 160, chief salary.
So what's the effect on the bottom?
Well, that's what we're kind of figuring, and I hadn't mentioned it to Dina, but it does shoot it, their budget will be up to about a 38% increase, but we've got others kind of cut to the quick, so probably be about a 7% increase. I'm not sure,
With the town position put in.
with the town position put in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
So let me see, 12, that's 8.
yeah,
So it's a $13,860 increase,
okay,
so
so it's,
I would say 7.1, but
yeah, it's between 6.6 and 7.3, somewhere in there. And then just, we'll come back to making a decision on that particular item, but as an aside, the fire department is also asking for, it's not really a rescue vehicle, it's a truck that's fitted to carry a big trailer with equipment on it.
Yep.
And more people in the truck, the cab.
It's a 2500 series crew cab pickup. It's,
And
Yep.
we've got a request for $90,000 out of the capital reserve fund, so no money from taxes, which means I think we can squeak it out. They'll ask for private funding for the fit up of it, and next year we'll be heavily putting into the capital reserve funds. Bill?
I want to speak as a trustee of the trust funds. We're asking for $675,000 total out of the capital reserve funds with 2 highway trucks, a police vehicle, and this fire vehicle. We only have about $540,000 in the capital reserve fund at this point.
Yep.
Now, I don't know, you may have more current information, but.
well, you're putting 225,000 into it.
assuming that that
You
passes,
can
right, we're
take
putting
this.
$225,000 into it, but that's gonna sort of leave the capital reserve fund at about $100,000 next year.
Yep, yep,
Yeah.
yep,
Yep,
and we are aware of that.
yep.
We gotta,
It leaves it at 143,000 exactly, so.
Yeah.
yeah,
Pass that to them.
on the truck, I still have some reservations of that. We got that note from, the chief,
Sean.
O'Keefe, about the current truck and what its
Right.
capabilities are. And it could pull a trailer, and then it has 4 doors, it could carry people. The problem I have with buying a new truck is that it keeps costing us, once it's on that line, it costs us forever. It's not a one-time thing, one and done.
Mhm.
And the police vehicle is replaced on a schedule like that, and the rotation of them, yeah, it does cost some money to convert them over. But I still question whether we need an extra vehicle.
So, I agree with that, but in thinking about it, I also thought, it's probably the most dangerous thing that the fire department does when they take vehicles and they go off and they're, who knows where they're trying to get to. But also, the fire department is using now a very old police cruiser. It's on its 3rd iteration as their go-to truck to go pick up parts or do whatever. If the police truck could go to the highway department, did I say the highway department before? I meant to.
No, it's just very rough.
Oh, sorry, the highway department could take the police vehicle, they get a big upgrade, and it stays in service for longer than if the fire guys get it and they use it for 1 year and they put 20,000 in it, and then they're still asking for a new vehicle. I'd rather see everything put on the schedule, even if we have to move stuff out a year or 2 and try and make it work a little bit longer, but I certainly understand what you're saying, and most of us grew up with recycling stuff somehow and using it a lot longer, but.
Well, my point is just that it's, you buy a new vehicle, it's there forever.
It's there, yes, yeah.
It doesn't go away.
It's
Yes.
in the rotation.
Right.
Yeah, we gotcha.
Yeah.
And that's a lot different, and I don't know, the highway's not complaining about the vehicle that they're using currently.
I heard that they were very excited, thinking they might get an upgrade, but
Everybody wants a new
everybody
vehicle.
likes a nice vehicle.
Well, the one that they have that they use, that's very old.
Yes.
And it's
It's
probably at the end of its life,
it's about 8 years old, I think.
so they need something to rotate in. Whether it's the police vehicle or something.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Can I make just, so this specs that we were given on the truck that is out there were for an F-150, not for the police responder. The police responder has 2 packages. It's either a 7,000 tow rating with 2,000 payload, or a 10.6 if they bought all the accessories for the towing package with it. If they did that, there's also an option to do electronic trailer brakes or some of the other safety features that come with it. I don't know what that thing is spec'd with. It could be rated to pull for 7,000 pounds.
Sean sent us a memo that said it was,
He's seen that.
Which isn't, that's not available on any Ford website, that, those numbers don't match up. And I talked to a Ford dealer to say, am I missing something? The numbers we received were for an F-150, which is very different than the Pursuit rated vehicle that he's driving. They're not, the specs are not aligned. That's one of the reasons we looked at the 2,500 to begin with, was that it didn't align with what we were trying to do. I'd recommend the board, if that's a consideration, have a conversation with the VIN number. I've been trying to get clarification to see if it's 7,000 or 10.6 or 10.2. I'd recommend the board look at that exact VIN number to figure out exactly what we ordered and what additional accessories were put on it to see if it goes above the 7,000 tow rating. Our trailer is rated at 7,000 pounds. So 7,000 puts it right at the upper edge of what it can do without a trailer brake. So if it doesn't have a trailer brake, I have concerns about pulling with that vehicle, which is what started the original process to say we should be looking at a different vehicle.
Thank you, Aaron. Mark, did you wanna say something? No, smart man. All right, so what are we gonna do? We're gonna put this package together, let the budget committee decide where they wanna cut it? They won't do that, I don't know, they haven't in the past. But we'll see. Dina, do you have thoughts that
Do I
you wish
have
to share?
thoughts? Well, wow. You know, I certainly support the position, and I think it's important that it's there. I will understand if it's cut financially, you know, I get it. That's their job, that's your job to be responsible. But we really need it, so I guess, you know. And I won't give my personal opinion on the fire guys, cause, you know, I love them all, but it is about money for all of us.
Yeah. Hey Sue, you're listening in, do you have any comments? She's out walking her dog.
She might.
Yes,
She just
I think that-
unmuted.
There we go.
Hi Sue.
Yeah, I think it's very important to get somebody in there. I think a person that you say is looking at grants. There's a lot of money out there, there used to be, I don't know if there still will be, but, they can probably get back their own salary with grants. Applying for grants for projects and support. So I think that's very worthwhile, and I agree that, we're all time limited, and therefore we need to have a successor. Even Dina, the superwoman that she is, needs a successor, so yes. At the same time, yeah, I think in terms of the discussion about the fire department, I think you need to look at the future. And the budget committee should be doing this as well, is looking 5-10 years down the road, what's going to happen? And I think we're looking at needing a full-time paid fire chief at some point, and I think we're gonna have to really consider that in the near future.
Well, man, we've had those discussions probably amongst ourselves, not very publicly, but thank you, Sue. I appreciate your counsel and your sharing it. I'm gonna make a motion that we go forward with putting administration, bump it up. I'd like to bump it up to about 8,000 and not do the full 9,360 or some other number there, 7,500. Give the chief the 20,000. I think he deserves it. It hurts because I really want to find this clerk to come in, but I think we put the clerk in. And by the way, we put them in at a 36-hour work week.
Right.
Which is the minimum you can have to get state retirement benefit and with benefits, so. And Dina will figure out something there, and then I also support, I understand exactly what Ben's talking about, but in this instance, I do support the, taking a fire vehicle out of the capital reserve fund, and everybody needs to know that into capital reserve funds next year will not be 410,000. It will be a big number. I don't know how else to do it.
There is no other way. That's what, after budget, I was gonna sit down with all of you and say, look, you have fun policies.
Are any of the things that the fire department is asking for, can they be spread out over time a little bit more?
I would think if we get this new truck, it could be spread out in the plan of,
The truck?
the truck, yeah.
Well, I mean, you don't have, are you talking about like spread it out with payments with a loan?
No,
Or are you talking about
Not
replacement?
doing everything all
Yes.
in one year.
Yeah.
We're giving the
Well,
chief a
this-
big raise, we're giving the,
Yes.
throwing money in administrative, and we're buying a new truck all in the same year, that's a lot of money all at once.
I would have loved to have done that truck next year, rather than this
why don't
year,
we do
build
that?
up that fund.
You have nothing next year.
How, we're not buying anything next year?
There's nothing planned
Aaron, how
next
do you
year.
feel about that?
I think even doing the upfit, I mean, this is one of the things I looked at for the timeline. If, we kind of have three options in front of us. One, we defer entirely, run the existing rescue. I have concerns about that, but I understand the budgetary constraints. Two, if we take the police cruiser in, we don't get it until October, November, in terms of getting it fit up and ready to go. It looks like the police package will be installed some point in September, ready to go into use, so we'd be looking at October, November, have 3 months of use before we'd be looking at doing
And
something.
new
And
vehicle?
I just don't think that's a viable option in terms of spending 20 to 25,000 to get it where it needs to be. And three is looking at, doing something now. One of the things we are looking at is how to reduce the future expenses, because fire trucks are ungodly expensive.
Yeah,
And we have several options that we're exploring to figure out ways to extend the life of our current engine so gets us another 10 to 12 years instead of spending $800,000 in 3 years.
yeah.
And same with tanker, trying to say, let's re-chassis the existing setup. So we're looking at ways to offset, I'd say likely $1 million over the next 15 years.
That'd be great, that's great. And so, how do you feel then about waiting till next year's town meeting for the truck or not?
I think it all depends on what happens for calls this year.
Yeah, and
That's,
who knows?
if we have, the biggest problem we have right now with the existing rescue platform is we're using our personal pickup trucks a
Mhm.
lot, and I have concerns with that.
I understand.
Yeah.
I have concerns with buying every fireman a fire truck on the town budget.
Yeah.
So
I
I'm not
just-
sure the alternative.
No, and we've talked about several things, and I don't know if we wanna look at putting this number in and seeing what we can do for direct drive fundraising to try to offset it. Talking with the foundation, looking at the association, and we briefly talked about that recently, but I don't know the right path. I see all the things coming at the same time. I
Yeah.
also see what we're looking at deferring in the future. I don't have the crystal ball. I know what we need, but
Thank you for being honest and
Yeah.
open with us. Phil?
If you put it off, first of all, I think that the idea of paying the fire chief $20,000 and increasing administration is an excellent idea, and if the select board doesn't do it, it's gonna wind up being proposed at town meeting anyway, and I think people would be likely to support it. Second of all, from the trust fund's perspective, if you put the truck off a year, you will have put in $225,000 this year, $225,000 next year. So then you're taking 90,000 out of 450 and leaving enough to do something in an emergency. So from a strictly fiscal perspective, if it can be put off another year, and I have no needs assessment that I can personally go from, I have to trust Aaron and the others for that, but from a trustee's perspective, it wouldn't strip the trust fund down to being virtually useless.
Right, right. Thank you.
Can I have the capital reserve thing back? I wanna look at it. That's a much more responsible, fiscally responsible way to go. No, really, it's,
Okay.
Yeah, I support that, I think we ought to defer the truck for a year.
Okay, so we've
Do
had a
everything else, but-
request to put this in the capital, in the warrant, and we either put it in the warrant and don't recommend it, or we don't put it in the warrant at all and wait till next year.
well, it's better if you don't put it in the warrant and then explain to the budget committee why it's not there and what your plan is.
I think the only other thing that we spitballed was just to say if the town finds a way to just buy the truck, the 52, whatever it was, or 55 with the lettering, we'll find a way to beg, borrow, and steal to equip it. And then look at something the following year to say, hey, if we need to outfit this, but then at least we can tow the trailer.
So the 90,000 isn't for just the truck?
That's for the truck, the lighting systems, everything. So we'll find ways to
So the truck is 50 something?
52 for the Ford and then roughly 3,000 in lettering. So we were looking at 55 to get it here and lettered.
What does that mean, lettered, Aaron?
Having all the decals on the side that say Lyme Fire, it's just all the lettering that
So
goes on.
without the setup?
Right, and then we figure out a way to try to get it at least in service to make it so we can use it as that utility vehicle for the year while we, whether it's fundraising, direct capital things, something to try to figure out a way to get.
So that really changes the capital reserve fund.
It contributes maybe $35,000
Yeah.
back to the capital reserve fund, so you're talking to that fund being closer to $200,000 if you buy the truck without all the equipment and raise the equipment voluntarily, or defer what equipment can be deferred for another year, you're putting the trust fund in less straits.
That's the recommendation I personally would make if we're going that direction. Hearing the concerns with I would say we'd not do the 90, I would say we do the 55, and we try to figure out a way to make the rest happen. But again, it comes down to, I understand, yeah.
So we've got, where are
I
those?
think again, from a trustee's perspective, I could support that.
You could support that.
compromise.
And as another trustee sitting here, I would vote with Phil.
I'm sorry.
And I agree with you.
Oh, so now we've got a quorum and
That's
a
right.
majority, so.
You don't have a quorum, stop it. Or you don't have a legal.
These are the jokes, Steve.
I know, I get it.
I can support, I think I can support that, but I would prefer to see it done a second next year and do the whole thing, because I think the town should do the whole thing, but
And you know what, I have to look into this a little bit, because, I'm remembering in the back of my brain that the money that's going in doesn't count, that we can't use that until,
next year.
until it's physically in there. So you'd have to, yeah, I don't know, I need to check.
So,
It may be just a nil anyways for that.
if there
I'm
isn't
sorry.
money in there.
I'm sorry this is so late, but it just came to I remember it from a webinar.
Let me just, the December figures show that what is in there at the end of December, as soon as I find the line on this tiny little
I have it right here.
543 or 545 something.
593, 235. That's from Bar Harbor.
593
Yeah.
in December,
Right.
and we've got 2 highway trucks.
675.
Is,
So it's more. It's 81,000 more, almost 82.
So we're already over that.
Well, you're over it, but
Yeah.
because you're gonna put money in it this year, when you add that to it. So,
then we
I
just need
just-
to find out when we can
correct. It's
touch
the
that
timing
money.
of it, yeah.
So we've got money for the 3
I can
vehicles,
find that out today.
but not the 4.
Well,
Do we
well,
give,
wait a minute, you have, yes, you have the police cruiser,
At what amount?
85,000.
85,
Then you have the fire at 90.
yeah,
Then you have the 2 highway vehicles.
yeah,
And then you also have the fire and truck payment,
okay, but
the last fire truck payment.
doesn't that come out of a different,
No, that comes right
comes
out
out of this,
of
that's
the
the one we
vehicle
were
fund.
counting, we're taking the 90 out.
675K
You're
if I
taking
added
that.
it correctly.
That's right, 675, 171, yep.
But we're taking the 90 out. And we might put back 50.
If you take out the 90, you're fine,
Okay, what's left if we take out the 90?
81,000.
And that
that's so
just makes
tight.
the payment.
Just defer it. Like, we'll have to figure this out. I mean, you can't go in the red.
No, we can't, we can't, we
I-
can't zero that out.
It's just deferred for a year. We've lived without the truck for forever.
Do we pay mileage for the firemen using their own vehicle?
No.
No, we don't do mileage, but I would think, now this is just me thinking, that the fire department would be receptive to putting it off for a year, even though that's not what they really want, as long as they understand and
That we
feel that the
support
board
that.
support that.
Yeah, no, and it's never been a
And
question, it's
support the
just a
truck.
matter of like, I think my concern is still like, yeah,
Yeah, what you might need.
We get the concern.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff going on this year.
Yep.
Next
Totally
year looks
understand.
like it's better, we'll
Yep.
do it next year.
Yep.
if that's
And we
okay.
need to remember that we said that, because I do know that sometimes,
Aaron will
with-
remember.
oh.
well, last year we did this too, which
I'll
is.
put it big
That's
in
right.
the
Yeah.
Yeah.
minutes.
Sue McKenzie's got her hand up.
Yeah.
Sue, yes, please,
Let me unmute here.
okay.
Two questions, well, I've forgotten one of them. Why does the highway department need two trucks this year? And are we adding another vehicle to the
No.
highway, the highway department?
Go for it.
We are not adding another vehicle. It's a troublesome ton truck that is, well, I think it's been a lemon the whole time we've owned it, but
Yes,
it's time for that to go. So it was time for a big truck, and now it's time, and then they added the ton truck on.
Wow.
Mhm.
And the other, I just remembered the other article was, as I recall from my time on the board, Dina, you're right, that if it's the money is appropriated this year at this town meeting, it can't be spent until next year.
I'm pretty sure I remember that too, Sue, thank you very much for your memory.
I wish mine was quicker.
Yeah, well, you're getting to that age,
Yeah.
like the rest of
Oh,
us.
thanks. Yes, you're right.
Okay,
You got a ways to go yet.
Yeah.
yes, yes, thank you very much. I think, well, we have to wait for him to come, for David to come back, but I think that is, I think we have no choice.
I think when you're looking at the three vehicles, we need to plow the roads
Yes,
more than we need to drive a different vehicle to respond to calls. We need the ton truck replaced more than we need to do this, because that thing is falling apart.
yeah,
And I fully agree with Scott that I think we should be looking at shorter time turnover for those one-ton vehicles to make it so that we
They get-
spend less as a
they
municipality.
get worked hard, and he's going to ask for the extra to have a warranty, a
Yep,
pretty
yep.
inclusive warranty, so a lot of the repairs that start snibbling away the last
Goes
few
away.
years will be covered.
And the same with Sean, I understand the
Yeah.
cycle, I get it, and that, if that vehicle can now go to highway to help reduce the pressure on that 8-year-old
It's at least 8,
Explorer,
maybe 9.
maybe 9,
Yeah,
then I get that too. I understand where you're at, I think we have no choice but to defer this for a year, and we go from there.
appreciate it, thank
So,
you.
yep.
And one point I'd love to make is that we had built in here for the next fire truck to be paid for
Next year,
with, well, with a loan, no,
Yep.
in 27.
Yep.
Purchased in 27 with a loan that's spread out. So those payments are in, I mean, those amounts that are
Right.
calculated, estimated.
Yep.
Depending on the interest rate and all that, are built in here. So if we're removing those,
I think,
because you're doing the.
I'll caution you till we get
I'm
them to
just
actually look
saying,
at the truck,
I
but,
haven't
yeah,
removed them
yeah.
yet, but, you know,
There may be more money.
yeah.
right,
Yeah, and I think that's really what we're trying to do, is figure out a way to take vehicles and extend them safely and figure out ways to cycle them back through, to really keep one frontline engine that's new and one that we stretch.
well, with $1 million vehicles, that's what we
It's,
have to.
it's insane.
Right.
I wholeheartedly understand the issues we're looking at.
I think I have this, I am not sure. I'd like to make a motion that we support deferring the fire utility vehicle, I'm gonna call it, until next year, but that we support the purchase of it. And hopefully everyone reminds us that will be a
Yeah.
warrant article next year to come out of the capital reserve. And two, or B, or whatever, I got my niches wrong. We support a budget, going back to the budget committee, asking for that clerk 2 position and restoring the fire chief's salary. And I don't know the number we settled on for administration, whether they asked for 9360, do we wanna do that? Or do we wanna do some other number?
You've got our grant person potentially,
Yeah,
like if you do that 75, that gets us to where we need to be, especially if we have a person that's doing the grants, cause
Can
that was a
help you with that.
big part of what we were looking to fund in that.
okay, so
So-
I'll put 75 in there.
We kinda earmarked 2K to be able to fund for grant writer and person to be chasing that stuff, so if
Yep,
this town position can cover that,
you're good with that,
that helps cover that.
okay. Are we square on what this motion I made
Yeah,
is?
whatever it is, I second it.
Let's see, vacations for Dina and Judy.
Yeah, where are we going? St. Thomas.
All right, yeah, we'll have a meeting there this summer. All those in favor of this motion say aye,
David,
and Judy aye. Okay, that's what we're taking tomorrow night to the budget committee. Dina will have to figure that out. It's the
Poor
person,
Dick.
it's 75 and it's 20,000 and deferring the,
And the increase is 9,860.
9,860.
It's
I don't know what that means.
1,860 increase for the administration. It's, or is that wrong? I got it wrong.
Oh, I see what you're
8,000. I was
saying.
adding it all up.
8.
I was trying to give you a
Yes, yes,
percentage,
okay.
but it'll be about a 6%, 6.2.
Okay,
And barring my pager going off, I will be there to explain to the budget committee that this was discussed and that we're in support of what you're saying.
That would
So
be
that there's
awesome.
not,
and I think they
Any
appreciated
separation.
that you were there last week as well.
Yep.
Thank you very
Yep.
much. Thank you, guys. And, okay, that's done. Warrant articles,
Yeah.
it's in the packet.
Yep.
Guys, I think all we need to look at, warrant articles.
Now you have to vote a new total.
Yeah, warrant articles. There they are. Article 12 is coming out,
Yeah.
and Article 13 is milfoil.
Yes, I didn't have the figures, so you didn't.
So
vote.
there's-
Rich, you're leaving Article 2 in there? Warrant Article 2?
I actually may be taking it out. I'm gonna see if I can get all the signatures necessary to withdraw it.
Oh, okay. Do we know why? Do you
You
care
saw
to
my
share?
note, right?
I did not see
So
it.
I will, I'll give you the Cliff Notes. In drafting the amendment, I used the wrong section number. Yes, right, and so, it would grant that for the flood zone, not
The
the shoreline
shoreline.
conservation, and so, yes. So, if I can get it withdrawn, I will. I assume the deadline on that is the 4th of February, same as
Yeah,
any other
probably.
amendment, yes.
I think so.
Okay,
Okay.
if not, it goes forward.
It would go forward and,
And then it would-
and I would, if I had to, I would stand up and say, don't vote for it. I mean, there's no point making the change
Yeah,
if it's not
it's
the
not
right
gonna
thing.
benefit anything.
Yes.
Okay,
And
thank
then
you.
And then I will be coming back to the board. I won't discuss that right now.
Right, I understand. Okey doke, milfoil, Article 14. There's no amount in this article to be raised by taxation, but these are the exact numbers that there'll be 46,420 for milfoil treatment, 23,210 from a 50% grant from New Hampshire DES, 14,832 to come from the unassigned fund balance for milfoil treatment. And 8,378 should be funded by a withdrawal from the conservation fund. Do we support this? Select board members.
I'll move it.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Then I.
David, aye.
And Judy, aye. And that is milfoil. Thank you very much. Okay, that takes care of the warrant articles. I believe we voted for the rest of them before.
Judy, could I
Yes,
raise a
I'm
question?
sorry, sir, yes.
Warrant Article 4. We're cutting the capital reserve fund very close, continually by putting in $225,000. The cost of vehicles keeps going up. Would it hurt terribly to make that $250,000 and give us a little slack when it comes to eventually spending this 400 and some odd thousand dollars on vehicles and, $90,000 for a police car, and the prices are astronomical, and I think we need to plan for that.
So increase that by 25,000.
That's a thought. And
We actually started with an increase of that because we did say last year, and we remembered something, that we were going to begin increasing. And I know Sue had been concerned also about the bridge capital reserve fund, which is a little slim, but I think our thoughts were, I may be speaking for folks who have a different opinion, but I think we had felt that keeping it one more time at the 410 when the operating budget was going up so much, but that next year we were going to have to really look to add into these capital reserve funds, both the bridge fund, the vehicle, at some point.
Yeah, that makes financial sense to be tight for another year and then see if we have the money next year. I can support that.
You can support that. How do you feel about that, Rich?
Yes, that's a judgment call. You get on the tightrope and you just decide how you feel.
And David, how do you feel about that? Is that okay to do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, like Aaron says, you do it next year if we can.
Yeah, I know we need to rebuild those, and actually having these capital reserve funds, I think they were started in the 80s, most of them.
Yeah, it's right in the town report.
It's really wonderful. It is in the town report. I could pull it out and look at it. That we are able to offset these big purchases by having essentially a savings account. And we need to be kinder to them.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I don't think anybody was planning on fire trucks and vehicles and metal
Yeah.
items increasing
Jumped
10,
20% in 1 year.
20%, exactly.
yeah,
It's
in
craziness.
one year, it's just crazy,
Yeah.
it is crazy.
Do you have the plugs, basically, do you have the master chart still that shows every piece of equipment that's coming on expected with the price tag still?
Up to 2033,
Yeah.
but we may not have the right amount of
The-
inflation.
I was gonna say yes, we based it on 5% when Kevin and I did it, but, so that needs to be adjusted.
I think what I'm hearing from the red truck side is it's 8% inflation per year.
Right.
So, and that's part of why we're looking at this pivot, trying to figure out how to extend. I mean, the problem is at some point you're kicking it down the line, but I'm hoping at some point we have some
Right.
leveling.
Well, and I know Scott has a plan going out too,
Yes,
that's a
he
little
does.
different than what is on here, so it needs to be, I need to adjust
We
it.
need, a big goal for this coming year will be adjusting this
Right,
master,
right.
and,
But he needs to come in and share that himself with you guys, so.
yeah. Yes, sir.
Is that spreadsheet available and Scott's spreadsheet available?
This is a PDF that I'm happy, but, you know, it's
Yeah.
not up to date, it's not.
Well, I
Well,
mean,
it's kind of up to date, but it's.
could, you know, accurate
Once
or
it's
the best
finalized.
information or the current information be shared? I guess that's the
Yes.
question.
Yes, it could be.
That'd be fabulous, thank you.
You might send an email just in case Dina doesn't remember.
I'll do
By
that,
the
yeah.
I may not. Well, I'm gonna fix it
A little
before
bit.
they get it, but,
Sure,
Okay.
right.
that's fine, thank you.
We've done the warrant articles. Do you have a grant proposal already written?
No, I do not.
Okay,
I'm so sorry.
and,
I just want the approval, yes, then I can submit it electronically.
okay,
Thank
okay.
you.
Ben, did you, this will be non-public, I can't do this right now. Do we have anything else that anyone else wants to bring up at this point in this delightful meeting?
We're gonna sign
He
it.
got back, can you sign
Oh,
that
the-
intent to cut?
The intent to cut?
Yeah.
It's still,
Well,
that's fine,
I
we'll sign
sus-
it, but.
I suspect it was 20, not even 200.
Yeah,
because it's-
yeah,
it's
3
very
acres of
little,
land, you're not
but
gonna get 200,000.
You can get,
Okay,
yeah.
so we're comfortable signing
We're
that,
changing it, we changed it,
okay,
or I changed it.
supplemental.
What's the name of the person who owns that property, what's his name?
Wilkes McLean,
Wilkes McLean,
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 CLAVE.
just wanna know my neighbors,
yeah.
Yes.
Well, he doesn't live there, he owns it, he lives down on the river road, but
but he rents it out, right?
does own it, I don't know, is there,
He's had one.
has he had it? Do you need a pen, Ben?
Yeah.
So I guess we need to vote to approve the supplemental intent to
I already
cut.
signed it.
David,
Thank
I.
you.
And Judy, aye.
And
That was a nice eye.
Okay, and then I will move to go into non-public session
And you wanted this signed too.
under RSA 91:8:3, Roman numeral 2,